middle of America's heartland. So how does this school help heal a nation 7,500 miles away? The answer starts with vision, action, and a true sense of humanity.
The first time I walked into the wards there, it was overwhelming.
As you go through the ward, there are these bays where there are 6 hospital beds and often 1 or 2 patients per bed.
In Kenya, the effects of HIV and AIDS are devastating.
Well, it's pretty nasty here right now. Kenya's losing about 700 young people every day. That's like 2 fully packed 747s going down every day, day after day. This is unlike any other epidemic. It just devastates society.
Successfully combating the epidemic is challenging. Many of the sickest people in the rural areas of Kenya have never even seen a doctor. Indiana University is changing that through a program called MPATH.
MPATH evolved out of a program that we started in Kenya in 1989 that was a program essentially that started for educational reasons. The notion was to give learners an opportunity to spend time in the developing world to reinforce the altruistic spirit of medicine. It was as simple as that. It was pretty small until around 2000, and then that's when HIV became so horrendous. We decided that the program needed to really change, and we really had to get involved in what was going on there.
We lost over 1,000 that year. And instead of being folks my age, the folks, the age that ought to be in the hospital, these were people in their 20s and 30s that were dying.
In 1989, Indiana formed a partnership with Kenya's Moi University called the Academic Model Providing Access to Healthcare, or MPATH. The joint venture focused its efforts on the city of Eldoret, Kenya, population 400,000. MPATH's mission, to open a clinic staffed with full-time Indiana and Moi doctors, and a continuous rotation of medical students, up to 45 a year. Together, the doctors and students give HIV patients examinations, the right medications, and continuous follow-up care.
There was a young woman that came there in her early 20s, and she had walked for 2 hours in the same day. Another woman came in. She was in her late 60s and came in a wheelchair. She was telling Dr. Mamlin that, she knew she was gonna die. And he said to her, you know what, I'm gonna help you today. I'm gonna send you to the hospital.
A patient in my HIV clinic, her name was Edith, was in a coma. And she slowly started to improve. And at the end of 6 weeks, she started to wake up. In 2009, I was able to return to Kenya, and I saw Edith as a 14-year-old. She was able to come and give me a hug and said, if you hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here today.
MPATH has definitely been able to convert HIV into more of a chronic illness and not something you die from.
The best feedback that you get is when you're there on the ground. Again, seeing how people's lives are impacted. And the beauty there is that nobody takes any of that for granted.
They'll bring food from their farm, or they'll bring maybe a chicken or a goat to thank you.
Since its inception, more than 20 years ago, MPATH has become a model for how to care for HIV patients. Other North American universities and healthcare systems have joined the program. Former Senator George McGovern visited MPATH and called it inspirational. Others have called it an academic miracle. MPATH strives to continue to evolve to meet the needs of the people of Kenya.
The program now is many things.
They have an orphans and vulnerable children program, which they're going to deal with the children. They have business opportunities that they can offer, microfinance projects that they have. So what stood out the most to me was that we could have such a structured organization that is doing way more than it was even put there to do.
MPATH has treated more than 140,000 HIV-infected people and has expanded to 60 sites throughout Kenya.
I think the level of respect that they have garnered all around the world is reflected in the fact that the IU Kenya project has now been nominated 3 times to the Nobel Peace Prize.
People aren't doing this because they preconceived it as their career path. They're certainly not doing it to generate wealth. They're not doing it to generate fame. They're doing it because it makes them feel good at the end of the day.
I think if you would look at the last several hundred students we brought here, the great majority would say that it was a life-changing experience for them.
As a doctor, I always see myself as not only returning to Kenya, but going to other countries and providing healthcare and helping to provide that access to healthcare, that people can get equal treatment when it comes to their health.
We understand going in to see the incredible medical needs of a community, what it is we're really studying for when we come back home.
The IU Kenya partnership for me, I believe, has made me the doctor that I am today.
The main thing I've learned is that there's change to be done, and I can do it too.
Next on Impact the World, Wisconsin's Engineers Without Borders go to work in Rwanda.